Welcome to Ancient Relics Keeper. Uncover hidden histories, lost artifacts, and ancient mysteries. Join us as we explore the past secrets. Subscribe and dive into history's untold stories. In the bone-dry desert of southern Peru, a vast and ancient mystery is etched into the earth. Hundreds of giant figures, a spider, a hummingbird, a monkey are carved into the ground, so massive they can only be truly appreciated from high in the sky. Created by the Nazca culture nearly 2,000 years ago, these geoglyphs have begged the question, who were they for, and what secrets do they hold? The Nazca lines are one of those rare ancient mysteries that feel both intimately human and profoundly alien at the same time. Carved into the arid, sun-scorched earth of the Peruvian desert plateau, they are a silent, sprawling art gallery from a forgotten time. For centuries, they lay hidden in plain sight, so immense that they were largely invisible to those walking on the ground. Local people knew of strange paths in the desert, but their true scale and form remained a secret. It wasn't until the 1920s and 30s, with the advent of commercial aviation, that pilots flying over the region looked down and saw something that defied belief. Staring back at them from the desert floor were hundreds of giant figures and geometric shapes, a landscape transformed into a canvas. The world was suddenly confronted with a 2,000-year-old enigma. Who created these giant drawings? How did they do it? And, most importantly, why? The first thing that strikes anyone who studies the Nazca lines is their impossible scale and precision. This isn't just a few scattered drawings. It's a colossal network of designs covering nearly 200 square miles of desert. The figures themselves, known as biomorphs, are the most famous. There's a spider, so anatomically correct that biologists can identify its species, complete with a tiny reproductive organ at the end of one league, a detail that would be nearly invisible from the ground. There is a graceful hummingbird, its wings forever frozen in mid-flight. There is a monkey with a striking, spiraling tail, a creature that is not even native to this dry, coastal region, suggesting a connection to the distant Amazon jungle. There's a giant lizard, a dog, a fish, and even a figure that has been chillingly nicknamed the astronaut, a humanoid figure with large, round eyes, standing on a hillside as if waving to the sky. These figures range in size, but many are hundreds of feet long, larger than a modern football field. But as astonishing as these animal figures are, they make up only a small fraction of the designs etched into the Nazca Plain. The vast majority of the lines are geometric. The desert is crisscrossed by hundreds of massive shapes, enormous trapezoids that look like airport runways, vast triangles, and intricate spirals that coil inwards with perfect symmetry. These shapes are often so large that they stretch for thousands of feet. And then there are the lines themselves, the feature that gives the entire phenomenon its name. Perfectly straight lines, some running for more than 5 miles, shoot across the rugged landscape. They go up and over hills, through valleys and across rocky terrain, yet they maintain their laser-like straightness. It's as if the natural contours of the earth were no obstacle to their creators. From the ground, these lines are nothing more than shallow trenches, a few inches deep, where the dark, rust-colored desert pebbles have been cleared away to reveal the lighter, sandy soil beneath. It was a simple technique, but the execution was masterful. This masterful execution presents us with the first deep paradox of the Nazca lines. How did the ancient Nazca people, a culture that existed from roughly 100 BCE to 800 CE, achieve this level of precision and scale? They had no written language, no complex mathematics that we know of, and certainly no access to flight. Yet they managed to create enormous, complex figures that are only truly recognizable from hundreds of feet in the air. Many of the most intricate designs, like the spider and the hummingbird, were created using a single, continuous, unbroken line that never crosses itself. It's a feat that would be difficult to replicate even today without modern surveying equipment and aerial guidance. How could a civilization working on the ground design and execute a drawing that they themselves could never fully see? It's like trying to paint a masterpiece while standing with your nose pressed against the canvas. The proportions would be distorted, the lines would wander. Yet, the Nazca figures are perfectly proportioned. their lines flowing and confident. This central, confounding problem creating art for an audience that seemingly couldn't exist would open the door to one of the most provocative and enduring theories in the world of ancient mysteries. If the Nazca lines were made to be seen from the sky, perhaps it's because their intended audience was in the sky. This is the heart of the ancient astronaut theory, an idea brought into the global spotlight by the Swiss author Erich von Däniken in his 1968 bestseller, Chariots of the Gods. Von Däniken looked at the Nazca lines and saw not a work of human art, but a piece of alien infrastructure. He posed a simple, yet electrifying question. What if the long, straight lines that crisscross the desert were not ceremonial paths, but runways for extraterrestrial spacecraft? In this view, the Nazca Plain was not a temple, but an ancient spaceport. The massive trapezoids and triangles were not just geometric shapes, but landing markers, guiding advanced flying machines to a safe touchdown on the desert plateau. The animal figures, in this context, take on a new meaning. They were not objects of worship, but giant, unmistakable signals, welcome signs for celestial visitors, or perhaps even representations of the star constellations from which these visitors came. The astronaut figure, with its big, vacant eyes, ceases to be a human shaman and becomes a literal depiction of an otherworldly being in a helmet and suit. This theory, while dismissed by mainstream archaeology, offers a seductively simple solution to the Nazca puzzle. It explains the scale, the precision, and the aerial perspective in one fell swoop. The lines were made to be seen from above, because that's where the gods, the astronauts, were. Proponents of this theory point to the unique nature of the Nazca site. The desert plain is remarkably flat and stable, with a climate so dry that there is virtually no rain and very little wind. Anything drawn on the surface would remain preserved, almost indefinitely. It would be the perfect location for a long-lasting message or a permanent landing site. The theory also attempts to explain the why. Why would ancient humans go to such trouble? The answer, according to von Däniken, was that they were interacting with technologically superior beings. They were either instructed to build these lines by the visitors themselves, or they were creating them as a form of cargo cult worship, a desperate attempt to call the sky gods back after they had departed. The Nazca people, seeing these powerful beings descend from the heavens in flying machines, were simply trying to mimic what they had witnessed, hoping to entice the gods to return with their gifts and their power. This idea has captured the public imagination for decades, becoming a cornerstone of ancient alien mythology. It transforms the Nazca lines from a curious archaeological site into evidence of a profound, hidden history of human extraterrestrial contact. It suggests that our ancestors were not alone, and that their greatest achievements may have been inspired, or even directed, by beings from another world. While there is no direct physical evidence, no alien artifacts, no spaceship wreckage to support this claim, the theory persists because it speaks to the sheer wonder and seeming impossibility of the site. When faced with a mystery so vast and a feat of engineering so advanced for its time, the idea of an outside influence becomes, for many, a more plausible explanation than crediting it to the ingenuity of a so-called primitive people. It's a narrative that elevates a local enigma into a cosmic drama, suggesting that the silent messages in the desert sand were not meant for human eyes at all, but were signals broadcast to the stars. The theory of alien landing strips and celestial signals is a tantalizing one, a story that ignites the imagination and connects a remote desert in Peru to the vastness of the cosmos. It's a powerful narrative, but for the archaeologists and historians who have spent decades walking these ancient lines and excavating the surrounding landscape, the truth of Nazca may be less about visitors from other worlds and more about a deeply human struggle for survival in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. To them, the lines are not a message for aliens, but a desperate prayer sent up to the gods of the earth and sky. They see the Nazca plain not as a spaceport, but as a massive, open-air temple, a map of human rituals drawn on a scale that matched the scale of their faith. The leading archaeological theory, and the one with the most physical evidence to support it, connects the Nazca lines to the single most precious and elusive resource in this arid landscape: water. The Nazca civilization managed to thrive for nearly 1,000 years in a place that receives less than an inch of rain per year. Their entire existence was a constant battle against drought. Their survival depended on their ability to manage a fragile system of underground aqueducts, known as puquios, which channeled water down from the distant Andes Mountains. It makes perfect sense that their largest and most significant cultural creation would be intimately linked to this life-or-death struggle. In this view, the Nazca lines were not meant to be seen from above, but to be walked upon. They were ceremonial pathways, sacred routes for religious processions. The ancient Nazca people, led by their shamans, would slowly and deliberately walk along these giant lines and figures, chanting, praying, and making offerings to their deities, appealing for the gift of water. Walking the path of a hummingbird, a creature associated with fertility and life, or a spider, a symbol of rain in many ancient cultures, would have been a powerful act of sympathetic magic. By physically tracing the outline of these sacred beings, they were calling their power down from the spirit world and into the parched earth. The evidence for this theory is found not in the sky, but on the ground. Archaeologists have discovered that many of the large trapezoids and straight lines point directly toward the Andes Mountains, the ultimate source of their water. It's as if the lines are giant arrows, directing human prayers toward the mountain gods who controlled the flow of the rivers. Furthermore, at the points where these lines converge or end, researchers have often found small mounds or ceremonial platforms with broken pottery scattered around them. This pottery wasn't just random trash, it was the remains of ritual offerings. The Nazca people would carry ceramic vessels filled with water, corn liquor, or other precious goods along these paths, and at the culmination of the ritual, they would smash them as a sacrifice to the gods. The desert floor itself became a record of their devotion, a landscape littered with the fragments of their faith. This theory also helps to explain how the lines were made with such precision. While creating them without an aerial view seems impossible to us, experimental archaeology has shown that it's entirely achievable with simple tools and techniques. A small team of people, using wooden stakes and long lengths of rope, could lay out the designs on a small scale, like a blueprint. Then, by using these stakes as reference points, they could scale up the design across the desert with remarkable accuracy. The straight lines could be created by having two people stand far apart, with a third person in the middle lining them up, a basic surveying technique that has been used by cultures all over the world. It required careful planning and a lot of coordinated labor, but it didn't require alien technology. It required human ingenuity, driven by a powerful, unifying belief. This human-centered explanation doesn't stop with water rituals. Another strong and complementary theory proposes that the Nazca Desert was not just a temple, but also a giant astronomical calendar. The Nazca people, like most ancient agricultural societies, were skilled observers of the sky. The movements of the sun, moon, and stars were not just celestial curiosities. They were a vital clock that governed their lives. The sky told them when to plant, when to harvest, and when to hold their most important religious festivals. It was a guide to survival, written in points of light across the night sky. It's logical to assume that they would want to replicate this celestial map on the Earth below. Researchers who have studied the astronomical alignments of the lines have found some stunning correlations. Some of the long, straight lines point directly to the position on the horizon where the sun rises or sets during the solstice's longest and shortest days of the year. These are crucial turning points in the seasonal cycle, and marking them would have been of paramount importance. Other lines appear to align with the positions of prominent stars or constellations, particularly those that were associated with the beginning of the rainy season in the mountains. The figures themselves might also have a celestial connection. The Nazca may have seen the shapes of their sacred animals in the patterns of the stars, creating their own zodiac. The famous spider figure, for instance, has been linked to the constellation Orion, a prominent feature in the southern sky. In this view, the Nazca lines become a complex and multi-layered instrument. A shaman could walk a line pointing to the summer solstice sunrise to mark the beginning of a new season. The entire community could gather to walk the path of a celestial animal to celebrate its appearance in the night sky. The desert floor was transformed into a tool that merged the practical with the spiritual. It was a calendar to track time, a map to guide rituals, and a sacred space to connect with the cosmos. It wasn't designed for beings looking down from spaceships, but for human beings looking up at the heavens, trying to understand their place in the universe and harmonize their lives with its powerful rhythms. Ultimately, the truth of the Nazca lines may not be a single, simple answer, but a combination of these profound human purposes. It was likely a place of ritual, a center for water worship, and an astronomical observatory, all at once. The different figures and lines may have been created by different family groups or clans over many centuries, each adding their own layer of meaning to this sacred landscape. The alien theory, while exciting, overlooks the incredible resourcefulness and deep spiritual life of the Nazca people. It seeks an extraordinary explanation for what may be a testament to an extraordinary human culture. The real mystery of the Nazca lines may not be, did aliens visit Earth, but rather, how did a civilization, faced with a constant struggle for survival, create a work of art so vast, so enduring, and so filled with a faith that we are still trying to understand 2,000 years later? The lines are a silent monument to their resilience, a message etched not for the stars, but for the gods they believed in and for the future generations they hoped would follow. The Nazca lines remain a breathtaking spectacle, a testament to a culture that carved its faith into the desert itself. Whether they were sacred pathways for shamans praying for water, a celestial calendar to guide their lives, or signals for beings we can't yet comprehend, their true purpose is a secret the desert has yet to fully reveal, leaving us to wonder at the forgotten messages in the sand. Thanks for exploring with Ancient Relics Keeper. What mystery should we unravel next? Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Let's keep digging into history's secrets together.